8-year-old Ellie Chen skips through the hydroponics garden of Harmony Station, her small fingers brushing against the leaves of Terran tomato plants. The massive diplomatic hub represents humanity's frontier in the Orion Arm, a testament to cooperation between 17 sentient species. Ellie pauses to examine a cluster of bioluminescent Alderian ferns, their gentle blue glow reminding her of Earth's oceans. "Careful not to touch those, little one," calls Dr. Mbiki, the station's xenobotanist. "Remember our rule about unknown plants. Look with eyes, not with hands." Ellie recites with a grin. "I remember, Dr. Mbeki. Mom made me memorize all the station safety protocols." Her mother, Ambassador Sarah Chen, watches from the conference room above, half listening to the Galactic Council's trade negotiations. The Crack's representatives have been particularly difficult this session, their mandibles clicking with barely concealed agitation over humanity's expansion into the Arcturus sector. The human delegation fails to recognize the historical precedents of Crack's developmental interests in these systems. Drone's Sub-Commander Vexcar, his exoskeletal armor gleaming under the chamber lights. Ambassador Chen maintains her diplomatic smile. Historical claims require documentation under Section 17 of the Galactic Charter. The Arcturus systems were uninhabited when we began terraforming operations. The Crack's delegation exchanges glances, their compound eyes reflecting the holographic star charts hovering between them. Something in their demeanor makes Sarah uneasy. She glances down at the garden again, reassured by the sight of her daughter carefully sketching the Centaurian crystal flower in her digital notebook. The station's alarms blare suddenly, the peaceful blue lighting shifting to emergency red. Sarah rises instinctively, her gaze darting back to the garden, where security officers are already converging. A Crack stealth corvette materializes within the station's defensive perimeter, its adaptive hull having fooled the outer sensors. "Emergency protocols initiated," announces the station eye. "Unknown vessel breaching diplomatic zone. All personnel proceed to designated safe areas." Ambassador Chen activates her comm unit. "Security, locate and protect Ellie Chen, priority Alpha." Her voice remains steady despite the racing of her heart. The Crack's delegation remains seated, their expressions unreadable to human eyes. In the garden, Dr. Mbiki hurries toward Ellie. "Come, child. We must reach the inner chambers." A specialized Crack's extraction team moves with ruthless efficiency, their armored forms materializing through precision teleportation. Station security officers draw their non-lethal compliance weapons, the only armaments permitted in diplomatic zones. The first officer falls, his nervous system overloaded by a Crack's neural disruptor. "Ellie, run." Dr. Mbiki pushes the child toward the emergency exit, placing himself between her and the intruders. A Crack soldier backhands the botanist, sending him crashing into a display of proximate orchids. Ellie runs, her small form darting between planters and hydroponics columns. Her grandmother's training echoes in her mind. If danger comes, seek cover, stay quiet, find allies. She slips beneath a maintenance access panel, crawling into the narrow service tunnel. From her hiding place, she sees more security officers engaging the Crack's team. The station's defensive protocols activate too late. The Cracks have bypassed core systems through methods that should have been impossible. 12 security officers fall in rapid succession, their defensive formations useless against the precise coordination of the Crack's team. "The human child is priority target," barks the Crack's commander, his voice translator rendering his clicks and whistles into harsh standard. "Life signs detected in subsection 42B." Ellie's heart pounds as she realizes they're tracking her somehow. The medical bracelet, the station-issued monitor all children wear. She attempts to remove it, but the biometric seal remains locked. A clawed hand reaches into her hiding place, dragging her into the open. Ellie fights with unexpected ferocity, landing a solid kick against her captor's thorax junction, a vulnerable point her Uncle Dant, a military specialist, had taught her just in case. The Crack soldier hisses in pain but maintains his grip. As they drag her toward their ship, Ellie's final scream echoes through the station's comms. "Mom, they're taking me to their ship. Tell Grandma." The Crack's corvette disengages, its engines flaring as it punches through the station's compromised defensive grid and vanishes into FTL, leaving behind chaos and destruction. In the diplomatic chamber, the Crack's delegation rises calmly, gathering their materials as if nothing unusual had occurred. Supreme Commander Vortash reviews the operation footage aboard his flagship, mandibles clicking in satisfaction as he observes the child being secured in a containment field. The human child will make excellent leverage against their resource claims in the Arcturus sector, he notes to his executive officer. Their sentimental attachment to offspring is a tactical weakness we shall exploit. What the arrogant commander doesn't realize, the quantum entanglement tracker embedded in Ellie's Medic Alert bracelet, standard for all human children since the colony wars, has just activated, triggering an automated response that hasn't been necessary in 300 years. Admiral Helena Chen receives the alert during a routine inspection of Earth's publicly known defense fleet. The quantum signal pulses directly to her neural implant, a security measure installed in all high-ranking military personnel with family members in diplomatic service. The sensation is like ice water down her spine. A child tracker distress code, and not just any child, her granddaughter. Her weathered face betrays nothing as she excuses herself from the Galactic defense attaché, a lanky Valyrian observer whose 6 eyes blink in mild confusion at the abrupt end to their tour of the UES Indomitable, Earth's flagship carrier. "Perhaps we can continue tomorrow, Ambassador Trelvor," she says with practiced calm. "An administrative matter requires my attention." The Valyrian diplomat inclines his elongated head. "Of course, Admiral. Our delegation appreciates your transparency regarding Earth's modest defense capabilities." Some council members had expressed concerns about human military expansion. Helena offers a thin smile. "We maintain only what we need for peacekeeping operations, as stipulated in the Galactic Charter." In her private quarters, the Admiral's composed demeanor cracks. Her hands tremble slightly as she places her palm on a scanner hidden within an antique locket, a family heirloom containing a photograph of 3 generations of Chen women, including little Ellie. "Authorization, Chen Omega-7. She speaks softly. Child protocol initiated." The locket scanner reads not just her palm pattern, but her DNA, breath chemistry, and vocal stress patterns, a security system impossible to bypass through coercion. The quantum-encrypted authorization ripples outward through hidden relays. Deep beneath Earth's Pacific Ocean, magnetic seals disengage from massive hangar doors untouched for decades. The abyssal plane shifts as sentient construction swarms activate, their nanite components reforming into maintenance and launch systems. Similar activities cascade across the solar system, beneath the Martian polar caps, within the cloud tops of Jupiter, inside hollowed-out asteroids, and throughout the Kuiper Belt. In retirement communities across Earth's colonies, thousands of veterans receive the same encrypted message on devices, disguised as medical implants. A child is taken. Armor up. Captain Rodrigo Mendez is tending his garden on New Terra when his left molar tingles with the activation code. The 67-year-old's eyes widen momentarily before hardening with resolve. He touches his wedding band, spinning it 3 times, a signal to his husband that the day they've prepared for has arrived. "Is it time?" Michael asks, setting down his book. Rodrigo nods once. Ellie Chen, Admiral's granddaughter. No further explanation is needed. Within 20 minutes, the couple has activated their bug-out protocols, their cottage's false floor revealing a tunnel to a hidden shuttle bay. Across 17 colonies, similar scenes unfold as Earth's reserve force, officially listed as honorably discharged, answers the call. Meanwhile, the galaxy's intelligence services remain fixated on Earth's known military assets, 300 ships spread across human territory, consistent with the civilization of their population and technical development. The Crack's High Command receives regular updates on these vessels, noting with satisfaction that no unusual movement has been detected. In her command center, Admiral Chen establishes a secure connection with Earth's unified government. President Okonkwo's hologram appears, his expression grave. "They've taken my granddaughter," Helena states flatly. The president closes his eyes briefly. "From where?" "Harmony Station. Diplomatic zone." Her voice remains steady, but her eyes burn. "The cracks. We'll pursue diplomatic channels first," Okonkwo says, already knowing the outcome. "Protocol demands they try. If they refuse." "When they refuse," Helena corrects, "we implement child protocol in full. The Shadow Fleet is already activating." President Okonkwo studies the Admiral's face. 500,000 ships for one child. The galaxy will never look at humanity the same way again. "They never really saw us to begin with," Helena replies. "That was the point." Across the void of space, dormant vessels stir to life, their energy signatures masked by revolutionary tech developed during the colony wars and refined through centuries of hidden research. Quantum computers calculate precise jump coordinates as weapons systems long shrouded in secrecy run self-diagnostics. At the Galactic Council headquarters, the Krax ambassador receives Earth's formal diplomatic request for Ellie's immediate return. His mandibles click in amusement as he composes the response, unaware that the first anomalous energy readings are already appearing on long-range scanners throughout human space. "Perhaps," he dictates, "you should have considered the consequences before challenging Krax territorial claims. The child's return can be negotiated once human colonies withdraw from the disputed systems." He transmits his message with smug satisfaction, believing he understands the measured response humans will take to protect their political interests. What he doesn't understand is that humans don't calculate the value of their children. Journalist Kira Nayak adjusts her camera drone as she prepares for another routine broadcast from the observation deck of the UES Vigilant. As the only civilian correspondent embedded with Earth's 14th Fleet, her reports have documented what most species consider humanity's modest but respectable naval presence. "We're approaching the 48-hour mark of increased patrols following diplomatic tensions with the Krax hegemony," she speaks into her neural recorder. Admiral Tsung has assured allied species that these movements remain within standard operational parameters. The deck vibrates slightly beneath her feet. Kira pauses, frowning. The Vigilant shouldn't be changing velocity. Before she can question it, Captain Rodriguez approaches with unusual urgency. "Ms. Nayak, you'll want your drone recording omnidirectionally. Immediately." She raises an eyebrow but complies, adjusting the settings to capture a full 360-degree feed. "What am I looking for, Captain?" "Just watch." The observation deck's polarization shifts, enhancing visibility across a wider spectrum. At first, Kira sees only the familiar formation of Earth vessels, 15 cruisers maintaining standard patrol configuration. Then the void changes. The blackness between stars ripples, as though reality itself is being peeled back. Massive silhouettes emerge simultaneously across the visible starfield. First dozens, then hundreds of ships that dwarf the Vigilant. Their hulls bear Earth's unified insignia, but the designs are unlike anything in public record. "That's impossible," Kira whispers, her journalist's composure cracking. "Those are Ragnarok-class dreadnoughts, their theoretical designs, engineering concepts from the military academy." Captain Rodriguez's voice is quiet. "No, Ms. Nayak, they're quite real. Humanity just chose not to mention them." The massive vessels move with impossible precision, their formation shifting like a murmuration of starlings despite their city-sized proportions. Energy readings that should be creating massive signatures remain mysteriously muted. More ruptures appear across the visible sector as additional ships emerge from what appear to be fold space pockets, hidden dimensions where the vessels waited, fully crewed and combat-ready. "How many?" Kira manages to ask, her drone capturing footage that will soon stun the galaxy. "In this sector, about 2,000. Rodriguez's expression remains professional, but pride creeps into his voice. Overall deployment: 500,000 dreadnoughts, plus support vessels. Kira's neural implant struggles to process the numbers. That's more ships than the combined fleets of all Council species. Yes. Aboard the newly awakened dreadnought Thunderchild, Admiral Jamal Washington reviews tactical displays showing green status indicators across all systems. The massive command center hums with activity as crew members, many awakened from cryosleep rotation, take their stations with practiced efficiency. His executive officer, Commander Linway, approaches with a tablet displaying deployment confirmations from across human space. Sir, all 500,000 vessels report combat-ready status. Weapon systems are green across all platforms. Quantum entanglement communications network operating at 99.97% efficiency. Washington nods, his dark eyes reflecting holographic displays showing the unprecedented deployment. And the child's locator. Signal locked, sir. We're tracking her current position aboard the Crack's military transport unyielding scale. They appear to be heading toward the hegemony central worlds. The Admiral's weathered face betrays no emotion, but his voice carries the weight of centuries of human history. Begin Phase 1 of the Child Protocol. All vessels maintain position at emergence points, but power weapons to standby. Let them see us first. Lin hesitates. Sir, these ships have quantum-locked weapon systems decades beyond current technology. How long have we? Since the Proxima Colony massacre, Washington answers, his mind traveling back to the tragedy that had united humanity in terrible resolve. We swore. Never again would a human child die while we stood powerless. Across the galaxy, member species of the Galactic Council receive urgent reports from their intelligence services. Sensor stations designed to monitor military movements light up with unprecedented readings as humanity's true fleet emerges from concealment. In the Valyrian embassy on Earth, Ambassador Trelvor, who had just hours earlier been reassured of humanity's modest military capabilities, stares at the tactical assessment with all six eyes widened in shock. By the eternal stars, he whispers to his aides. Their known military was just a facade. The data continues streaming in. Weapon systems beyond current technological understanding. Hull compositions incorporating elements thought theoretical. Propulsion systems operating on principles not yet published in scientific journals. Meanwhile, in a holding cell aboard the Crack's transport, Ellie Chen sits cross-legged on the floor, her small fingers tracing calculations into the condensation on the cell's cooling pipes. The Crack's guards observe through monitoring systems, amused by what appears to be random childish scribbling. They don't recognize she's calculating their vessel's approximate location based on engine vibration frequencies and artificial gravity fluctuations, skills taught to diplomatic children as mathematical games by Earth's military families. As the guard changes shift, Ellie smiles slightly. She counted time perfectly. 5 hours, 17 minutes since her abduction. If her grandmother's stories were true, the galaxy was about to learn why humans were so protective of their children. The emergency session of the Galactic Council transforms the Grand Chamber into a storm of voices. Representatives from 87 spacefaring civilizations demand explanations as holographic projections display Earth's fleet deploying across the galaxy. The ancient chamber, designed to project calm and foster reason, now seethes with fear and confusion. High Chancellor Xandar, whose species evolved from crystalline life forms, resonates with harmonic tones meant to restore order. The vibrations ripple through the chamber, gradually subduing the chaos. The council will maintain decorum. Xandar intones, facets glinting under the chamber lights. The representative from the Crack's hegemony will address the allegations. Supreme Diplomatic Executor Vrex rises from the Crack's delegation, his exoskeletal armor clicking as ceremonial plates slide into formal configuration. The accusations are preposterous. The hegemony has conducted a lawful detainment of a human subject found trespassing in contested space. Murmurs rise again before Xandar silences them with another harmonic pulse. And the reports that this trespasser is a child, taken from a diplomatic station. The Chancellor inquires. Vrex's mandibles twitched slightly. The age of the subject is irrelevant under Crack's law. The diplomatic station resides within space claimed by the hegemony, since before humans achieved interstellar travel. The Crack's delegation signals agreement, their synchronized movements conveying absolute confidence. Vrex continues, mandibles raised in the Crack's gesture of righteous indignation. More concerning is humanity's deception regarding their military capabilities. This hidden armada represents a clear violation of Section 42 of the Galactic Charter, requiring transparency in defense declarations. The chamber doors slide open, interrupting the proceedings. Ambassador Marcus Kim enters, no longer wearing his customary diplomatic attire, but dressed in a simple black uniform bearing the insignia of Earth's combined defense force. The room falls silent as he walks calmly to the central podium, his footsteps echoing in the sudden quiet. The Earth Alliance apologizes for the interruption. He begins, his voice measured. I come before this council not as a diplomat today, but as a messenger. Kim activates a small device, projecting a holographic image of Ellie Chen. The image rotates slowly, showing a smiling 8-year-old in her school uniform. This is Ellie Chen, granddaughter of Admiral Helena Chen. 27 hours ago, she was taken by Crack's special forces from a designated diplomatic safe zone. Kim's calm demeanor contrasts with the gravity of his words. The terms are non-negotiable. Return the child, unharmed, within 24 hours. The Crack's ambassador slams his ceremonial staff against the ancient floor, shattering the ceremonial wood that had been carried by Crack's representatives for 17 generations. You would risk galactic war over one insignificant offspring. He hisses, compound eyes reflecting the chamber lights. The hegemony demands assistance from our treaty allies against this unprecedented aggression. One by one, holographic indicators above the allied species' seats shift from green to amber, the formal symbol for declared neutrality. The Crack's delegation's compound eyes squivel toward their suddenly silent partners. Ambassador Kim activates another holographic display, this one showing Earth's history. Images flash in rapid succession. Ancient tribal conflicts, world wars, colonial rebellions, the Proxima massacre, and finally, the unified peace that followed. We don't expect you to understand, Kim says quietly. But I urge those present to consult your intelligence services about what happened to the last civilization that took human children. The ancient Thraxian representative, oldest member of the council, at nearly 900 years, shuffles forward, tendrils waving to request recognition. Whispers pass among the elder species as the ancient being's translator activates. The humans do not bluff, the wizened creature warns, milky eyes blinking slowly. 3,000 cycles ago, the K-Tor Empire took human colonists for study. They believed their technological superiority would protect them. The ancient being's breathing apparatus wheezes before continuing. There is no more K-Tor Empire. Outside the council chamber, Admiral Chen broadcasts a message to all Earth forces, her image appearing simultaneously on 500,000 command decks. To all personnel implementing child protocol, remember your oaths. Precision. Restraint. Her eyes, though stern, contain unmistakable emotion. We are not conquerors. We are not vengeful. We are coming for our child. In the council chamber, the Crack's ambassador sputters with indignation. You have no authority to make demands. The hegemony will not be coerced by. A junior aide interrupts, whispering urgently into the ambassador's hearing organ. The Crack's exoskeleton pales visibly as he receives the latest intelligence. Human dreadnoughts have positioned themselves near every major Crack's military installation across hegemony space. The temporal synchronization of the maneuver, appearing simultaneously despite vast distances, demonstrates technological capabilities beyond anything in Crack's understanding. Ambassador Kim watches this realization dawn. 24 hours, he repeats softly. For everyone's sake, I hope you make the right choice. When the 24-hour deadline expires, the galaxy witnesses warfare unlike anything recorded in the archives of the ancients. In perfect synchronization, 499,990 dreadnoughts execute trans-dimensional jumps to precisely calculated coordinates surrounding every Crack's military installation, shipyard, and command center across 126 star systems. The remaining 10 vessels maintain position around Earth, a statement that humanity needs only the smallest fraction of its forces for planetary defense. The maneuver, immediately dubbed the synchronicity by stunned observers, requires calculations so complex that cinephysicists had previously declared them mathematically impossible. The fact that 500,000 vessels could translate simultaneously across such vast distances, arriving with millimeter precision, forces an immediate recalculation of humanity's technological capabilities. On the observation deck of the scientific vessel Eternal Inquiry, Valyrian researchers record the event with all available sensors. Chief Scientist Velmora's tendrils tremble as she reviews the preliminary data. The humans are utilizing quantum entanglement signatures we've never documented, she whispers to her research team. The fold space calculations alone would require computing power beyond our theoretical models. On the Crack's homeworld of Scrixthal, Supreme Commander Vortash watches in disbelief as reports flood the military command center. The massive viewscreen displays real-time feeds from across hegemony space, each showing the same impossible sight. Human dreadnoughts materializing with perfect positioning to neutralize all defensive capabilities. Impossible, he hisses, chitin plates clicking in agitation. No species could coordinate across such distances with millisecond timing. Our defensive grids should have detected their approach vectors. His tactical officer's voice trembles. Supreme Commander, they didn't approach. According to our sensors, they simply appeared. Simultaneously, everywhere. Most remarkable to military observers across the galaxy, no Crack civilian targets are engaged. Instead, hyper-focused electromagnetic pulse weapons neutralize military infrastructure with surgical precision. Weapons platforms lose power. Communication arrays fall silent. Propulsion systems on warships shut down without damaging life support. A message broadcasts simultaneously across all Crack's communication channels, translated into perfect high Cracks, regional Cracks, and all 16 hegemony dialects. We have come for our child. Your military capabilities have been neutralized as a precautionary measure. No harm will come to civilian populations. Cooperate, and this temporary occupation will end peacefully. Aboard the Dreadnought Inevitable, Commander Layla Sharma oversees the operation targeting the facility where Ellie is held. The massive ship hovers above the Crack's detention center, its shadow covering the sprawling complex built into the side of an otherwise uninhabited moon. Tactical analysis complete, Commander, reports Lieutenant Park. We've identified 347 Crack's military personnel and 28 civilian workers within the compound. Structural integrity fields are maintaining atmospheric containment. Sharma studies the holographic projection of the facility. Her fingers trace the detention blocks, stopping at a small life sign reading that matches Ellie's biometric signature. Prepare non-lethal suppression protocols, she orders. I want precision-guided anesthetic gas through their ventilation systems. Adjust compound for Crack's physiology. They should wake with nothing worse than mild disorientation. Ma'am, Park confirms, non-lethal suppression ready. Sharma nods. Execute. No casualties if possible. Throughout the facility, Crack's security personnel reach for weapons that no longer function as a sweet-smelling compound filters through environmental systems. Within minutes, the entire compound falls silent except for the soft hiss of maintaining life support. In the vessel's deployment bay, Strike Team Phantom prepares for insertion. 12 operators check advanced infiltration suits that render them nearly invisible to standard detection methods. Their commander, Major Dant Chen, Ellie's uncle, inspects his non-lethal weaponry one final time. Team, he addresses the operators. This operation will be recorded by every intelligence service in the galaxy. We're not just rescuing my niece, we're demonstrating humanity's approach to conflict resolution. He locks eyes with each team member. We show the galaxy the difference between what we can do and what we choose to do. Across human space, citizens gather around public view screens, watching as their hidden fleet reveals itself. Children in schools observe special broadcasts explaining in age-appropriate terms why so many ships have appeared in the skies. Parents hold their children closer, understanding the message being sent to the galaxy. Humanity will bring its full might to bear for even one child. On her command deck, Admiral Helena Chen receives confirmation that the first phase has been completed without a single casualty on either side. Her expression remains professionally neutral, but those who know her recognize the steel beneath the surface. Strike Team Phantom. She communicates through quantum-secured channels. You are cleared to retrieve my granddaughter. Major Dant Chen's 12-person rescue team deploys from the inevitable with methodical precision. Their dropship descends toward the Crack's detention facility, its advanced stealth systems rendering it invisible to conventional sensors. As they approach, the facility's automated defenses, the pride of Crack's military engineering, remain dormant, their targeting systems compromised by quantum algorithms transmitted minutes earlier. Strike Team Phantom beginning approach. Chen subvocalizes through his neural link. Infiltration trajectory nominal. The team's tactical visors display augmented reality overlays of the facility's interior, highlighting optimal entry points and potential complications. Their neural implants share tactical information in real time through quantum entanglement, allowing for coordinated movement that appears almost prescient to observers. Remember, Chen reminds his team, all actions are being recorded through multiple intelligence channels. We operate with unnecessary force, and we undermine everything our fleet deployment stands for. The dropship hovers silently above the facility's northern quadrant. Team members deploy through dimensional shift harnesses, technology that allows them to phase partially through solid matter, passing through the facility's outer hull without triggering structural integrity alarms. Inside, the facility's corridors lie silent. Crack's security personnel remain unconscious, their breathing steady under the effects of the specialized anesthetic compound. The team moves like ghosts, their footsteps absorbed by adaptive material in their infiltration suits. Central Security Hub located, reports Lieutenant Ameri, the team's systems specialist. Her fingers dance through holographic interfaces as she accesses the facility's networks. Beginning data extraction and surveillance override. The facility's systems offer minimal resistance, not because Crack's security technology is substandard, but because the infiltration tools represent decades of classified human development. What appears as effortless hacking is actually the deployment of quantum computing techniques beyond current galactic understanding. 2 Crack's guards remain conscious in the detention block, having accessed emergency respirators when the anesthetic gas deployed. They fire disruptor weapons wildly at shadows moving through their facility, energy bolts passing harmlessly through what appear to be solid figures. What sorcery is this? One guard clicks to his companion, mandibles chattering in distress. Conversion fields, explains a disembodied human voice, seemingly coming from everywhere at once. We're transforming your weapon's energy output into harmless light. Please stand down. The guards respond by activating backup sidearms. Before they can fire, localized stasis fields engulf them, freezing them in place without causing harm. Their consciousness remains intact. They can see and hear everything, but cannot move even their smallest appendages. We could have used lethal force. Chen informs them as he steps into view, his infiltration suit's camouflage deactivating. Remember that when this is over. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, the information war unfolds alongside the military operation. Humanity releases thousands of historical records showing why they developed such overwhelming force. Centuries of conflict, the near-extinction events during the AI rebellions, the Proxima massacre where children were specifically targeted, and the hard-earned understanding that true peace requires the capacity to end all war. On Earth and throughout human colonies, children from every settlement participate in the Remembrance, a ceremony honoring both victims of past atrocities and the peace that followed. They light candles, release biodegradable lanterns, and recite the promise of protection that has guided human military development for generations. That no child shall ever again know war's suffering. That we maintain strength not for conquest, but for prevention. In her cell within the detention facility, Ellie Chen sits cross-legged on the floor, eyes closed in apparent meditation. The cracks believed they had confiscated all possessions that might aid escape, not recognizing that her simple hair clips contained molecular filaments, educational toys that served as rudimentary tools in trained hands. She hears the barely perceptible sound of the facility's systems shutting down, the subtle shift in air circulation, the nearly imperceptible change in lighting frequency. A smile touches her lips as she retrieves a small device she'd assembled from components scavenged from her food delivery drone, a rudimentary signal booster that begins pulsing in sync with her bracelet. The wall opposite her cell appears to dissolve, revealing a figure in advanced tactical gear. The helmet's faceplate retracts, revealing a familiar face, Uncle Dante. She whispers, rising to her feet with perfect composure. He kneels, keeping his tactical visor activated to maintain team communications. Your grandma's got 500,000 ships overhead, kiddo. Ready to go home. Ellie nods, but her expression remains serious. Uncle Dante, I need to show you something first. She points toward the adjacent detention block. There are others here. Not humans. Children from other species. I heard them. Major Chen's expression shifts from relief to determined focus as he processes Ellie's words. He subvocalizes into his neural comm. Command, we have a situation. Multiple juvenile detainees of non-human origin reported in the facility. Aboard the Inevitable, Commander Sharma receives this information with raised eyebrows. Confirmed, Major. Expanding scan parameters now. The Dreadnoughts sensors recalibrate, penetrating deeper into the facility's structure. New biosignatures appear on the tactical display, smaller than standard Crack's life signs, and displaying stress markers consistent with captivity. Admiral, Sharma communicates to the flagship. We have confirmed 7 juvenile non-human detainees within the facility. Species analysis indicates Felorian, Vrock, and what appears to be a juvenile centauri. In her command center, Admiral Chen faces a pivotal decision. Rescuing Ellie was the mission parameter, clean, straightforward, and justified under both human moral code and galactic law regarding diplomatic families. Expanding the operation carries political implications that could complicate an already tense situation. The Admiral studies the tactical display showing Crack's warships regrouping at the edge of their territory. Despite being disabled, they represent the hegemony's wounded pride. The Crack's leadership remains defiant, believing humanity will withdraw once they retrieve their child. Standard doctrine suggests a surgical extraction of our primary objective, leaving remaining complications to diplomatic channels, advises her executive officer, a career strategist who served 3 fleet admirals. Chen's eyes narrow as she considers the recommendation. That's what they expect. It solves today's problem, not tomorrow's. Her decision forms with crystalline clarity. Expand the mission parameters. All children are to be extracted and returned to their species of origin. She opens a channel to all Earth forces. Amendment to mission parameters. Multiple children of various species located. Extraction teams deployed to coordinates being transmitted now. This is no longer about one human child. It's about all children. Throughout human-controlled space, resources shift to accommodate the expanded mission. Medical ships with xenobiological specialists move into position. Diplomatic vessels prepare to receive and transport non-human children back to their homeworlds. On the Inevitable, Commander Sharma dispatches additional extraction teams while securing communication channels to the relevant ambassadors. Inform them we're recovering their children. This is not a negotiation or a political maneuver. It's a rescue operation, pure and simple. Meanwhile, Major Chen's team moves deeper into the detention facility, guided by Ellie, who walks confidently beside her uncle. 2 team members remain with the stasis-frozen Cracks guards, while the others proceed toward the secondary detention block. How did you know about the other children? Dante asks his niece as they navigate the corridors. The ventilation system connects all the cells, Ellie explains. I could hear them crying at night. The Cracks guards talked about them when they thought I couldn't understand. But Mom made me learn basic cracks for diplomatic functions. Her small face hardens with determination beyond her years. No one was coming for them. Their governments didn't know they were here. The teen reaches a reinforced doorway marked with Cracks warning glyphs. Lieutenant Ameri interfaces with the security panel, her specialized tools making short work of the encryption. Life signs confirmed behind this barrier, she reports. 7 distinct signatures, all showing elevated stress hormones consistent with long-term captivity. The door slides open to reveal a circular chamber with transparent cells arranged around the perimeter. Inside each, a child of a different species sits or crouches, watching the humans with expressions ranging from terror to desperate hope. A young Felorian, her bioluminescent tendrils dimmed from stress, presses delicate hands against the barrier. A Vrock child, exoskeleton still soft with youth, clicks a tentative greeting. Most heartbreaking is a juvenile centauri, members of a species known for their psychological dependency on communal connection, curled into a fetal position, suffering from the neurological effects of isolation. Get them out, Major Chen orders, his voice tight with controlled anger. Full medical scans as we extract. Document everything. As the team works to free the children, Ellie approaches the centauri's cell, placing her palm against the barrier opposite the suffering child. It's okay, she says softly. We're taking everyone home. Across the galaxy, the news spreads. Humanity's overwhelming military response, initially triggered by one human child, has expanded to rescue children of multiple species, including those whose governments stand in political opposition to Earth. The operation transforms from a demonstration of human military might to something more complex and revealing about human values. Admiral Chen receives the first images from the facility, her granddaughter standing among children of species the humans have sometimes struggled to understand, all being gently tended by Earth's most elite military operators. Prepare a statement for the Galactic Council, she instructs her communications officer. The children of all species are returning home. 1 week after the Synchronicity event, humanity's fleet returns to formation around Earth, a demonstration that their intervention was temporary and precisely calibrated to the situation. The massive dreadnoughts hover in perfect geometric patterns, visible from the planet's surface as points of light moving with mathematical precision. In the Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council, representatives from 17 species stand in a semicircle, each accompanied by a child returned from Cracks custody. The chamber, designed to accommodate thousands of diplomats, falls silent as these small figures take center stage. A Felorian girl whose tendrils now glow with renewed health, a Vrock youth whose exoskeleton bears ceremonial markings of gratitude, a Centauri child surrounded by community members who maintain constant physical contact to heal the isolation trauma. The Cracks delegation occupies their traditional position, though their numbers are reduced. Their military neutralized, but their civilian government intact, they face sanctions unprecedented in Council history, restrictions on space travel, technology embargoes, and mandatory monitoring of all detention facilities across their territory. Supreme Diplomatic Executive Rex has been replaced by a younger Cracks, whose carapace lacks the ornate markings of the military caste. This representative's posture communicates submission rather than the traditional Cracks dominance display. Ellie Chen, now a reluctant celebrity across the galaxy, approaches the central podium alongside her grandmother. Admiral Chen, today wearing formal diplomatic attire rather than her military uniform, lifts the child so she can reach the microphone. "I wasn't scared," Ellie announces to the assembled representatives, her voice steady despite the attention. "Because my grandma told me humans never leave anyone behind. But there are lots of kids who are left behind every day." She activates a small device, projecting holographic data into the chamber's display system. The information, compiled from files she had accessed and memorized during her captivity, shows evidence of systematic child trafficking, exploitation, and neglect across multiple civilizations. The Cracks facility, it seems, was merely one node in a network that crossed political boundaries. Ambassador Marcus Kim steps forward, once again wearing traditional diplomatic attire. "Honored representatives, Earth presents the Children's Accord for your consideration." The document materializes before each representative. A new galactic treaty establishing unprecedented protections for minors of all species, backed by a multilateral enforcement mechanism that includes regular inspections and a rapid response force drawn from multiple worlds. "Humanity's fleet stands ready to enforce these protections," Kim continues, "but we recognize that lasting change requires shared responsibility. Therefore, we propose that enforcement be handled by a coalition force, with Earth providing only 20% of necessary resources." As the representatives review the document, the Alderaanian ambassador, whose own grandchild stands among the rescued, whispers to his Valyrian counterpart, "The humans could have conquered us all while our defenses were down. Their fleet could have demanded anything." The Valyrian nods thoughtfully, multiple eyes blinking in sequence. "They chose to protect instead. Perhaps we've misunderstood them from the beginning." One by one, representatives approach the central dais, pressing their biometric identifiers to the accord. Even the Cracks representative adds their acknowledgement, mandibles clicking in the gesture that signifies acceptance of consequences. In Earth's orbital headquarters, as the last Dreadnoughts prepare to return to their hidden bases, Admiral Chen meets with her command staff for a final briefing. The fleet returns to standby, she orders, studying the tactical display showing vessels moving into fold space pockets. But this time, not in secret. Half our forces will remain visible to galactic monitoring. Lieutenant Park glances at the readiness indicators. "Ma'am, do you think we'll need to deploy again?" The Admiral watches as the Children's Accord receives its final signatures, including those from species previously hostile to human interests. "I hope not," she answers, allowing herself a small smile. "But the galaxy now understands. Humanity stands ready, not for conquest, not for vengeance, but because someone needs to stand for those who cannot stand for themselves." Later that evening, in her personal quarters, Helena Chen receives a message from her granddaughter. The transmission contains no words, only an image, a child's drawing showing Dreadnoughts transformed into schools, hospitals, and scientific outposts across the stars. Below the image appears a simple caption written in Ellie's careful handwriting. "Next time." The Admiral studies the drawing, her weathered fingers tracing the hopeful vision of warships repurposed for creation rather than destruction. She sends a one-word reply: "Promise." Throughout human space, the massive fleet that had demonstrated unprecedented military coordination begins a different kind of synchronization. Vessels converting weapons bays into scientific laboratories, medical facilities, and educational centers. The Dreadnoughts that had terrified the galaxy now extend a different kind of power, the infrastructure to build rather than destroy. The galaxy learns that humanity's hidden fleet had always been designed with dual purpose. The same precision that made them perfect weapons made them perfect platforms for healing, building, and connecting. They had been called Dreadnoughts. Now, they would earn a new name.